All right, so welcome everybody to the question and answer call for our 5 days together. I should have hit record when I was just sharing that, so let me just recap. You will have access to the materials in the group through the end of February, but I will still be engaging if you post over the course of this week till probably Friday the 13th. So feel free to, if you're catching up, if you never even got started. I had the few people that weren't feeling well last week. So, still use the group. Don't feel like, oh, I missed it and I can't participate in that way because you still can. And of course, you can always come back to the videos at your own pace. And the YouTube stuff probably won't get taken down. So if you save the YouTube links for the videos, you can kind of have those in your file folder because I like to just give people resources and not be like, okay, well, you only have that, and then I'm taking it away from you. So just, save those things if you want them for future reference. So we're going to start off today with just a little time for question and answer, if there are any. Sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't for people. So I always like to have time, where it's not just typing a post in Telegram and asking a question, where you can kind of ask something in real time or just ask for support. It doesn't have to be a question. And then after we do that, then we'll do a little bit of energy work, which is often my clients, one of their favorite things that we do together is doing some energy support for releasing and transmuting stuff. So I want to do like a little mini of that in our time together too and give you some support in that way. So with that being said, do either of you have any questions or anything that you'd like direct support with?
Just feedback that it was very helpful to have it laid out every day and to kind of, try things out and
Good.
see what
So
it.
kind of the format worked well for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's kind of my first time running something as like a 5 day. I was modeling it after something else that I had experienced, and I kind of like the self-paced thing where because everybody has different schedules, and if we have to be on a call every day, that gets a bit much. So it's like if you can just check in instead of having to be like, oh, I have to be live on that every single day. Then we get even more behind usually and feel a little overwhelmed, which when we're talking about our nervous systems, we don't need to feel more overwhelmed. We need to feel less overwhelmed. We need to simplify the process. So I'm glad that that was helpful. And how did it feel for you? I know you and I have been working together for a while on kind of getting yourself on camera. And I was just curious, like, is there anything you want to share of like how that went for you more on a like internal space?
Um, yeah, I think having the exercise like the video first to kind of calm, then it felt. I think also the safe space that I knew that I was in a container that, was supportive.
Right.
That
No,
just
no one would judge you or kind of be like, what are you talking about?
But it felt good. I think, yeah, it was sort of, territory that I is unfamiliar or uncomfortable. But once I just said, no, go ahead and post something, then it and tried it out. It wasn't as bad as I thought.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's, I think, one of the things that, our brains often do is when something is new, we often, oh, excuse me, we often think, this is like the scariest thing in the world because that's how our brain is wired to think like new things are scary. I mean, you know enough about the brain as well to kind of know that that's like a survival thing that our brains do. And then once we do it and we're like, oh, actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because typically we kind of blow it up and make it into like, oh, this is so scary. I'm putting myself in front of a camera and I'm talking and, it's uncomfortable. And, again, it's the baby steps, which we've been talking a lot about going forward is just taking the small steps, not like I have to create the video for my website in one go and like have it ready, but just like start getting comfortable doing videos before it's like, this is the video that's actually gonna live on my website that I'm going to be, happy about people seeing. And that takes down pressure, I think, too. Great. All
Yeah,
right.
it's wonderful to have a space to try it out.
Yeah, yeah, and people doing similar things. I mean, not everybody wants, I think, at this point to get on camera, but there were a number of people who certainly kind of wanted to get more comfortable putting themselves on video, and that's certainly a growth edge for a lot of people when we're kind of sensitive and we want to be visible, but being on camera is to me a little more vulnerable than writing things. But for me, writing has always been very comfortable. And when I started learning to, put myself on camera and be on video, that was like a whole other level of like, ooh, this is kind of weird, because you're also seeing yourself. And that's, I'm sure that that's a new experience too when you're recording. I mean, it's kind of like being on a Zoom call where you see yourself on camera, but it's in this way you're like the only person kind of there. So you're not having a conversation like, with other people in real time. And that can take a little bit of mental work to get used to too, because it's like I'm just sitting here talking to myself, and then I'm trying not to look at myself talking to myself because I need to look at the camera instead of looking at my screen, looking at my face. So good job on taking those steps, and keep working through it this week. I'm definitely excited to see as you do kind of the rest that you didn't get to, kind of where you evolve to.
Thanks, me too.
Yay. And Elizabeth, is there anything that you have that?
I keep doing the one, especially from Fridays, but it was really the practice was really powerful and good. It really I'm having a lot of head um issues anyway, like just around the skull.
Okay.
That's where like the one of the main injuries for the that I have from is a birth injury from being pulled out with forceps. And so that's like the scoliosis that I've been like working on. And that's what I mostly write about.
Okay.
And right now, anyway. And so that just really, I just keep doing that over and over again.
Nice.
Seriously. And yeah, I feel calmer. I do. I'm a bit of a bit of a wreck at the moment because I retired from my job that I still need to make an income. So I'm like doing things to do that, but it's a road. It's not like
Right.
I'm hopping into a job. So
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
still
So you're
still
kind of in
stressed.
a transition, and
Mhm.
that's kind of
But
anxiety producing in
uh-huh.
itself when we're
So
letting go of
definitely,
something that was like, well, this was kind of security, but maybe it wasn't what, ultimately you want to be doing
yeah,
anymore.
no, yeah, I knew it was like I couldn't like function anymore, like
Mm,
in my brain, which kind of
yeah.
wigs me out. So yeah, this like kind of like feels like it's definitely helping my brain
Good.
for sure.
Yeah. And definitely, I would say, whichever practices resonate the most. That's why I like to give kind of a variety because, you may do one and you're like, yeah, that one just doesn't seem to really land for me. It's not my favorite. Like,
Mhm.
totally fine. Like, not every exercise, not every practice is going to be everyone's favorite. But when we have kind of a variety to choose from, we can kind of pick and choose, like,
Mhm.
oh, I really like this one, or, these two are kind of my go-tos. And, maybe the other ones I'll try from time to
Oh, yeah.
time.
They're all good. They were all good. I felt like
Excellent.
having
Good. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, whichever one seemed like even just the most helpful, like obviously just listen to that because everyone kind of has different things that work or, and that can change obviously
Mhm.
too. Like maybe one of them's your favorite right now or most helpful, and then it changes to something different. Great. I'm glad that it's been helpful for both of you. And it doesn't sound like you have any specific questions, so we can just kind of, unless you do. Nope. We're good with questions. Okay, perfect. So let's for the energy work. I always like to just start with a little bit of an intention. So I would love, since we're small, you can just kind of share, like, what would you like most, especially after having the last 5 days and observing, what came up. Like what feels most ready to be released for you that's getting in the way of you showing up, being more visible, feeling more safe? Like, is there one or two things that you could name that's like, yeah, this needs to be released or cleared, or this is in the way? And if you feel safe sharing kind of what that is, that just kind of helps me kind of bring it into the session and inform.
I think for me, it would be fear and like, um, and then, so then I don't stay sort of, I don't know if the word is like embodied, but like where I'm staying. I think part of the work with the nervous system is like getting myself just embodied in and then comfortable to share from that space. If that
Hmm.
makes sense.
So kind of, yeah, fear, I certainly think
Fear
fear takes us out of that.
about, yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's what
kind of
I'm.
like fear pulls us up out of our grounding. Fear kind of like contracts us inward instead of being like sharing,
Yeah,
brings us into our, yeah, the monkey mind, the head of just like, oh, it's not going to be good enough. What are people going to say? What are people going to think? Like all of those things come up. So kind of just releasing the fear so you can kind of show up in a more embodied place.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Sorry.
Love that intention. I have a cat that loves to do the same kind of thing. So, and Elizabeth?
Yeah, it's fear. It's like, and I've been processing an event that happened when I was a child, like that goes into my fear of writing and of really listening to my interior. And I actually this started and I went to my therapist too, who does, I don't know if you know thought field therapy. It's a tapping
Hmm.
therapy.
Well, I haven't heard of
Also,
that particular.
or the Callahan technique is another name for it. So we definitely cleared it. Um, but it's like still getting myself just to like go take that step, make that post, do the post, put your work there, and I second guess everything, including like how to do things
Hmm.
on the site. I
Right.
do this like in life too. I second guess everything, I say question everything so that like it takes me longer. And I'm doing it to myself.
Right.
I'm like not trusting my own um s- even ability to like follow simple directions, find something. I'm like, finally I find it, like I'm working on an interface, right? So I find the thing I need, and then I'm like, oh, that was there all the time. Why didn't I see it? You know?
Right. Yep. And as you probably know, with like trauma and things like that, yeah, it can make it harder for our brains to, function and do the thing with ease instead of like, oh, why can't I, like you said, why didn't I see that was right in front of me? And I could have just done it this way. So beautiful. Well, it sounds like we kind of have similar intentions for this, and I think that that's kind of a great place to, work from. So we will go into the session. If you want to, you can kind of mute yourself just so if there's any background noise, we just have kind of a clean recording. It sounds like you guys are both in quiet spaces, but I always just invite people to do that. So if some animal starts barking or a siren goes off, we don't all hear it. And yeah, you can be on camera, you can be off camera, whatever you like to receive is totally fine as well. And just start if it feels comfortable and safe with your eyes closed. And let's all just take a few breaths. So we've done a lot of talking, we've been in our heads. And now we want to just kind of come into our bodies and just maybe 3 or 4 deep breaths at your own pace. Settling into this time and this space as a place for healing. And if you see me yawning a lot, that's just my body's way of signaling that things are shifting and processing. So I'm not going to fall asleep on you. It's just the way I feel energy move. so we're going to start in the nervous system. Yeah, we're going to work with what we call brain networks. And brain networks just mean areas of the brain that are like wired together for certain functions, basically. We also have ones in the body as well, brain body. So I'm just going to see, are we in the brain specifically? Yes. Okay. So we're going to be in one of the social emotional subcircuits. And we're going to look at connection, the three that are under connection. And okay, so we're going to look at something that's called the tend and befriend subcircuit. And so basically, this is an alternate stress mode where we come into trust with other people. We can, like, work together. We can have team spirit. We can have connection. We have a can-do attitude. We experience caring and empathy. And it basically, when we're in this stress mode and in this kind of brain network, instead of being flooded by things like cortisol and, all the other stress hormones, we get actually flooded with different hormones that are much more beneficial. So we get serotonin for clear and brilliant thinking, we get dopamine for courage and motivation, and we get oxytocin for an ability to trust and work with others. So this is definitely a beautiful thing to start with here. So we're not kind of putting ourselves in the world as like, tigers are going to eat me. It's like, oh, people are actually going to connect with me, and there are going to be all these positive things that come from it. So do we need to look at? So we're going to move from kind of the lower expression of tend and befriend, and you can kind of, as I read these, just in your mind, self-identify. Yeah, I recognize this at times in myself. So when we're in low expression, we can have being mistrustful, non-cooperative. We can have difficulty making friends and getting along with others. There can be social anxiety. We can even feel antisocial, and we can be easily stressed. So we're shifting out of those lower expressions, however they show up for you, into the higher expression, which is being cooperative, trusting, a brilliant thinker and brainstormer, inspired, resilient, optimistic, courageous, motivated, and solutions oriented. So I love all of these things. It's kind of like, let's have more of that, right? And we're going to look at three things that kind of keep all of us more in that lower expression that need to be cleared and released so we can step more into the higher expression of tend and befriend subcircuit. Number one is going to be an emotional story, and this is going to be a memory. And for all of this is going to be in early childhood. So it could be, depending on your life story, it could be one specific thing, or it could be kind of like a pattern you experienced. A lot of people that I work with, it's like there's a pattern in their childhood. And this has to do in the first one, two, so first 4 years of your life of experiencing something as like being criticized. So maybe that was through a parent who was like really critical, maybe, some other adult in your life in the first 4 years was, you kind of felt like you were constantly being picked at. Um, and it could be, again, just like maybe one time situation, it could be that pattern. So just kind of think back. And I don't know, sometimes it's hard to really remember a lot of details of like age 1 to 4. But just see, like, what do you think you might have experienced as a small child, and just kind of call that to mind. And in that space, just kind of remember, if you kind of have a sense of what happened, like what emotionally did you feel at that time? Did you feel scared? Did you feel ashamed? Were you anxious? So just kind of name in your mind the emotions that went with that experience. And just kind of remember if you could give it a number 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense you could think of, 1 being not intense at all, what do you think it probably registered at for your young self? Yeah, and I'm getting our collective number is about an 8. So you could be higher or lower, but that's just kind of like the average as I tune into both of you here and anyone that's kind of in our group and listening to this later. Okay, so then we're going to go to a second emotional story, and this is a little bit later. So it's not, is it childhood? No. So this feels like kind of young adulthood. So feels like somewhere in the neighborhood of like age 20, give or take a year or two, depending on what your life journey was. So just kind of like at that phase, right? We're done with high school. We're kind of moving into another phase of our life. And this feels like, is this criticism, judgment? It's an experience of being rejected in some way. So it could be, by friend or peer. It could be, again, by, it could go to a family member, but just like think of, it could be a work situation. Like, how might you have felt rejected for being who you were around the age 20? And when you think of that, again, just kind of naming in your mind, what is it that you remember feeling emotionally about that? Were you sad? Were you scared? Were you isolated and lonely? And the intensity 1 to 10, once again on that. That feels like our average is about a 7. Okay. And then the third thing we need to clear. Okay, we need to go for each of us to an experience of a head trauma in our life. So that could be something even like you were describing, Elizabeth, with birth trauma with the forceps, or it could be, a time that you fell and bonked your head, you bonked your head on a door frame. Like we've all probably had at least a knock or two to our head in some fashion. So just kind of think of whatever might have happened that you're aware of if you can't name what it was, because it was like I got out of a car and bonked my head. Like sometimes that it can be as simple as that. So if you don't have
And
any clear.
which time frame? I'm sorry, which time frame was this, Lynn?
This one is just at any kind of point in your
Anytime.
life.
Okay.
So, and if you've had multiple head traumas, you can kind of extend it and include that as well, because that kind of got the sense maybe that's part of the question too for you is if I've had multiple head traumas, we'll extend it to whatever. Okay. So then we're going to do what we call a repattern. And repatterns are just about bringing in kind of an alternate frequency. So we have these frequencies of feeling like rejected and criticized and anxious and like all these feelings that we don't want to have. So we're going to bring in a one or two things that kind of harmonize those emotions into a different state. So do we have more than one repattern? Yes. Been finding I'm getting more than one these days. So number 1 repattern is going to be you want to find like a memory of a time in your life. And it's kind of the opposite of that being criticized as a child. So it's like maybe you had a friend, a teacher, a mentor, a family member who just really like supported you and was like, you're just so great. You're amazing. I love you. Like, you're perfect just as you are, like that kind of vibe. So just kind of comb through your memories and just experience, think of a time, person, experience of like really feeling accepted. And you want this to be nice and strong. So, like a robust on a positive, like 10 being amazingly high, like I feel totally blissed out by this. try to get to a 7 or 8 type of a memory with this. So not just like, oh, that was kind of nice and it was 5 minutes, but like, I really felt this in my bones. Okay, and then the second repattern is going to be another memory. So we're going to use a practice, so like something that you do in your life. And it feels like this is more around kind of a self-love piece. So we have kind of the external coming in, and then we want something that like brings you into, I would say if you have anything around supporting your inner child, that would be a good repattern here.
Mm.
And that could even be kind of what we started with on day one, if that resonated too with you, that kind of talking to yourself, the hand on the heart, and like, I see you, like, you're amazing. That kind of an energy is basically what we're looking for here with the that repattern. So just thinking of that, and I'll guide you with what we're doing with all of this here in a minute, but we're just kind of gathering all our pieces together. Does this need, yeah, so we also need to look at the connection between tend and befriend and another subcircuit. Yes. So we're going to go to the emotional perception subcircuit. And I'll give you just in a nutshell what that's about. So that is about our perception and interpretations of other people's emotional state via their facial expressions and body language. So it's how we're thinking, are they sad? Are they angry? Are they disgusted? Are they happy? Are they neutral? Are they safe? Are they dangerous? And then, we respond appropriately. So we need kind of these two subcircuits. Let's see. Is there like an unscrambling of the connection? Yeah. Which obviously you can see how you're perceiving other people is going to make a difference in like, are they my friend? Are they not my friend? Can they be in my tend and befriend if I'm misinterpreting? Oh, somebody gave a funny look and maybe it was nothing, but you're like, oh my God, they must hate me. They must really dislike me. Then we need to kind of rewire that part of the brain that's like on hyperdrive of this person is not safe versus maybe their face just did something funny. Sorry for the morning cough. Okay. So we just need our attunement tool, which is going to be, we're going to use an acupoint for this. So let me look at my options. And we're going to go with, so we're going to go with the acupoint. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Liver 3 on both sides of the body. And one of the names for this point, kind of spirit names for it, is called Happy Calm. All right, there we go. Had to get that out of my throat. All right, so happy calm. So we're calming the spirit, we're easing depression and anger. We're also just supporting, moving chi, moving stagnation in the body. But we're kind of bringing in that happy calm energy for the support. And then does this network need to connect to anything or is it by itself? It is by itself. We're going to do what we call activating this. And so to activate this, if you've never done this before, you're going to do something that we do, which is some head sweeps. And I'll kind of direct you what the head sweeps look like and then what you're focusing on. So you start with your head turned towards your right. And as you inhale, your head is going to go to the left. And then as you exhale, you go back to the right. So the motion is just simply, like kind of like watching tennis is how I describe it. Your head's going back and forth slowly. And as you're inhaling and going to the left, you're going to be thinking about what I prompt you to kind of think about, what we're releasing. And then as you exhale to the right, it's like you're breathing out the emotional charge of it. So the first one that we're going to do some sweeps on is just go back to those first 4 years of your life and whatever you kind of came up with around feeling, criticized, rejected, judged, and just breathing out whatever's there, sadness, anxiety, grief, whatever you kind of named in your mind emotionally. And you're just gonna kind of keep going back and forth for a little bit so that the emotion, it's like we're kind of wiping dirty layers off a window, so to speak. So each sweep is kind of like you're taking your paper towel and you're like, okay, I'm just making the window a little bit clearer with each swipe. And I'll give you just another couple moments to just work with that one. If you feel like that one's kind of complete and you want to come back to center, you can. If you kind of feel like there's a shift, if you need another moment, just take another moment to sweep. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, you're going to go forward to your early 20s and an experience of being rejected, whatever you can remember around that. And again, as you inhale, you're kind of remembering what happened, exhaling the emotions. Just again, back and forth. Just wiping away these layers on the window that don't need to be clouding your experience of life anymore. And again, just if it feels complete, you can kind of come back to center. If you need another moment, you can just take another moment. And then just now, any head injury that you can remember, or multiple, if you've had more than one, I'm just kind of imagining, what you remember of the actual experience of that and the aftermath. Any maybe symptoms you've had because of that. If it was a significant head trauma, you're like breathing out kind of the emotional and physical impact of that injury to your beautiful brain. Again, just taking your time. And whenever that part feels complete, you just kind of come back again. Beautiful. And then we're going to do the repattern. And the repattern, we do the head movement, but this time we focus a little differently. So as we inhale back to the left, it's like we're breathing back in these positive feelings. And as you exhale, you just exhale. There's nothing to like think about. So it's just like kind of repatterning, reclaiming these energies. So the first one is just of an experience of really deeply feeling accepted by someone in your life. And if there's multiples, that's fine. Like if your brain is like, oh yeah, and then there was this time, and there was that time, like let that come in too. Like we don't have to limit it to one particular memory if there's a lot of them that want to come in. And just really, as you're breathing that back in, it's like you're feeling into your body. What does it feel like on a cellular level to really feel accepted by someone? Deeply accepted. And this should feel really good. It's like we're filling up with something positive. Maybe just doing another 4 or 5 breaths, just really filling up. Fill up that tank. And then as you feel complete with that one, you're going to go into breathing in, like whatever supports that inner child, whatever holds space for you, where you feel like you're accepting yourself as well. So, like, what does that feel like when you do a practice, when you get into a space where it's like, yeah, I've got myself too. It's not just that other people love and accept me, like, I also have myself. Because that's where it really all starts from, truly, is us having our own back. So breathe that in. Really feel, what does that feel like? What does every cell in my body do when I really feel like I've got me? And just take a few more breaths, just really bringing that in. And then when you're complete, you can just kind of let that go. And knowing as you do let it go, you're not letting really go of the experience. You're keeping that because we want that energy to hang out with us. That is what we want to have more of for sure. Oh, so, look, we've got a little more work to do. We're going to go forward. Yeah, I feel like we're going to work a little in the nervous system networks. Where are we in? Yes, we're going to go to what we call the lizard vagal network, which is really our freeze response. Just a little easier than those two names. If you know polyvagal theory and you're like, which is dorsal and which is ventral? So we call it just the lizard because people can relate to, I know what happens when I go into my inner lizard. So this is the lizard when the lizard doesn't feel safe. So lizard frozen, basically. So when we're not safe, escape isn't possible. We, dissociate, we freeze, we immobilize, and then our body kind of goes into shutting down. So it's really not where we want to live our lives, right? In this not safe place, because it also affects all of our organs and our systems. And, it's like we're meant to kind of touch into that, but then get back out into what we call the new vagal, the safe, which my image for that is kind of like doggies on a beach chilling in the sun. Like that's where we want to be. We want to be the happy doggies chilling on a beach, not the lizard frozen. All right, so lizard vagal not safe. We're going to look at three key things that are impacting our inner lizard and keeping us in that not safe. And especially, I'm going to, hold the intention that this is around like being seen more in whatever way that is important for you in your life. So the first one is going to be a memory and childhood, yes. So it feels like it's in the age range, depending on your life story. When we do groups, I kind of sometimes will give a little bit of a range because we all didn't have the exact same thing happen at age 8, So age 6 to 9 of, yeah, it's something not making you not feel safe. Um, Is it specifically like related to school and peers? Yeah. So this is like being at school, being around your peers at school. And it's a pretty deep experience of something that felt like rejection. And maybe you experienced that a lot. It might not just be one incident. And maybe there was like one incident where it was just like, wow, that was like really hard and painful for your young self. So just again, kind of see if you scan through your own memory, like what might have happened age 6 to 9. Um, that was kind of, I felt really rejected at school by my peers. Maybe you expressed something, an opinion, and somebody laughed at you, like whatever that might have been. Maybe you did poorly. I'm just kind of getting a few examples that are just dropping in. Like maybe you did poorly on some sort of a project or a test, and then like people found out and they were like, oh, she's so stupid. Like it's kind of that type of energy where you felt embarrassed and ashamed. Feels like it's part of it too. And if you think of whatever that might have been, again, just I have those emotions that I just kind of tuned into, but what would you also name in your mind that you felt? And then just giving that an intensity, 1 to 10. So our average is kind of like an 8.5. This was definitely an intense experience as a relatively young child. Okay. And then we're going to go forward to another memory. This is going into the 20s, first half, second half of your 20s. Yeah, I'm not going to be more specific than that. So kind of like 25 to 30-ish, something in that 5 year time window. And this is it feels like as you were stepping more into, whatever you were doing, career wise or how you were showing up more in an adult fashion in your life. And it's kind of got that similar like feeling that's something that happened where you felt embarrassed, rejected, not good enough is the other phrase that's coming in. Yeah, there might be a little bit for some of us of like an imposter syndrome flavor to this. Just kind of see what's in that 5 year window. And maybe it's a couple things too. Like if you have a few memories, that's okay. That doesn't have to just be. And then any other emotions other than the ones that I've named, you can kind of just see what else felt like it was part of that. And your intensity 1 to 10. This feels like the average is about a 7. And then the last layer here on this is going to be actually, we can do ancestral stuff. So ancestral, and we're just going to each of our mothers. We're not going far back, just to your mother. And it feels like whatever this was in her life, and you may or may not know, depending on how open your own mother was about, what she experienced, but it feels like a deep rejection that she experienced, whatever that was. It could have been in her childhood, it could be, later in her life. You don't have to necessarily know the story. If you know what it is, fine. If not, there's no need to try to figure it out. We're just taking away, it's like that amplifies your own feeling of being rejected because your mom had this experience. So it's just kind of like turns up the volume knob a little bit, basically. So we want to take that out of the equation so it doesn't amp up your own. Okay, so we're going to go for our repattern. And the repattern, the first part is going to be around feeling safe. And so this, we want to find like a time in your life where you really felt safe. This could be, like you were on a wonderful vacation in like a place where you just felt so relaxed. You were just like, oh, this is so amazing. My body feels really calm. I feel really safe. That would be one idea. It could even be, for some people, just how you feel like when you're curled up in your own bed and you're like hanging out and you're like in that protective space of your own home. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be, a specific memory. It could just be like every day when I do this or when I'm in this place in my home, I feel really safe. So just kind of see where would you go if you said, I feel like most safe or I have a really strong memory of being relaxed and safe. That is what we want. And then the second thing second thing is we need to bring in like some of the energy that represents that new vagal. Okay, so one of the things we get into emotionally and as a mindset with new vagal is being really motivated. So there's something that we need in this repattern around like a time that you felt really motivated, like in a super positive way. Not I'm forcing myself and pushing through and like that kind of energy, but just like I am so motivated because I'm so inspired. This feels like amazing, and I can't wait to like do whatever it is. So just kind of see like when you think about motivation in that like really light and fun and energized way, like what comes up for you there? So it could be a memory or it could be a kind of a way that you get yourself into that space as well. That could work as an option. Okay, so then we need, yeah, so we need to also go from that lizard vagal network to the new vagal network. Directions. No, we're just going lizard vagal connecting to this new vagal. So that kind of rest, connect, heal energy, which also, interestingly, building on that first piece, it gives us access to that tendon befriend subcircuit. So it's almost like we're building on the first piece that we did here. So we're like strengthening the ability to go to shift more easily from our inner lizard to that happy dog on the beach in the sun. So we can all be happy dogs on the beach in the sun together. All right. Anything more than the attunement? No. Okay, reset. Okay, so we're gonna do an elemental reset. We're going to use the water element reset. So water element in Chinese medicine. Pull up that reset because I never remember them off the top of my head. All right, metal. So metal is kind of representing the lungs and the large intestine. It's protection. So we're engaging what we call the four shields, the Wei Qi, which is a protective energy in the body in Chinese medicine, our skin, our microbiome, our immune system. We're releasing grief. And then we are kind of using, there's an acupoint that's protection. We're releasing kind of sludgy stuff and we're just cooling heat in the body. So let me just put the acupoints that I need to focus on as I do the activation. Beautiful. Okay. And then does this need to link to this? Does want to connect. There's another piece. So we're doing what we call a link, which just means two things need to connect. So this whole big piece on lizard vagal needs to connect to, oh, okay. We're going to link to the cortices brain balance, which I know you both have at least experienced once, so that was that technique that I taught in the master class. So we're just really rebalancing the whole brain as the nervous system comes into this place of safety. So that's kind of coming in as a connection and like a reset in a way. Okay, so is there more to that? No. All right, so we're going to do some more head sweeps here. So the first, we're going to go back to the releasing part. So just remembering kind of 6 to 9, whatever you could remember from school around being rejected, embarrassed, ashamed with your peers. So kind of remembering whatever that was as your inhale goes left, exhaling to the right, letting go of those emotions. It's back and forth. And again, just wiping away some of the layers on your window, doing a cleanup. And then as that one feels like you've done some sweeping, you're going to go forward to that kind of 25 to 30 age range and feeling not good enough, rejected, maybe a bit like an imposter in some way. And just sweep, sweep, sweep that away. And then when you're ready, you'll start shifting into the repattern. So again, just inhaling, breathing in to the left. Time or an experience of feeling really, really safe, like safe and relaxed. I was laying on a beach on the perfect vacation, or I just feel really cozy in this spot in my house. Like nothing can impact me. What does it feel like in your body when you feel really, really safe? How do you know? And then adding in the other layer of our repattern, which is going to be going to do something when you felt motivated and you felt just like really light and excited and like that bubbly, nice feeling inside. What does that feel like when you take action from that beautiful space of just kind of breathing that back in? Really swim in that feeling because that's much different energy than when we get stressed and locked up. We're just like, oh yeah, this is easy and fun and good. Just imagine that filling each and every cell. Like your whole body could just buzz with that wonderful frequency. Like, this is how I want to show up in life. No pushing necessary because I'm just motivated and excited and alive. Mm. Just take a couple more breaths to top that all off. And when you're ready, you can just kind of come back to center. Beautiful. All right. So this all is going to just do its little processing. So I liken this to kind of, we started a big computer file downloading and it takes a little bit of time. So when I kind of give the integration time, that's kind of the concept that I'm going with here. So it's going to be kind of like downloading and processing and updating for about 5 days. So kind of over the course of this week, you'll just kind of feel these things settling in, shifting, integrating. And let me just see, do we want to do either of the read patterns as kind of support for that? Yeah, often we do both. Is it the second one? Yeah, so we're going to go with that second, and I'll put this, I'll summarize it too. So if you don't have it in your notes, you'll have it written out. So going into that repattern we just did, the time of feeling really safe, either in your house, on vacation, like whatever kind of brings you into that. My nervous system is just like super chill. I'm the dog on the beach in the sunshine kind of energy. That's the first part. And then the second is that moving from that motivated, light, fun, like, ooh, this feels good energy. So doing that, kind of breathing that stuff in daily for the 5 days. And of course, if you like it and you want to do it longer than the 5 days, there's no harm to continuing that as a practice, but you want to do it at least for the 5 days. I'm just gonna star this so I remember to summarize that as the homework. And is there anything more? No. But basically, basically kind of you want that energy of like swimming in those feelings because those are the feelings that are going to help move out what we moved out and just bring in more of like, I take action from feeling safe and motivated and inspired and like a good place instead of like we were talking about the intention of releasing that fear and that kind of like, ugh, this is really hard energy. It's like, I just want to show up and be like, I'm inspired to write this or do this video, and it feels good. All right, so I will open it up here for shares, and then I'd love to just kind of share an opportunity if you kind of want to go deeper after that, but I'd love to take a moment and just kind of connect before I do that. So anything that came up in the session for either of you?
I had some nice releases of some of these things, past memories.
Nice. So it felt
Yeah.
like a lot of shifting and kind of clearing of some stuff.
Repatterns were nice as well.
Beautiful. Good. Yeah, I know. I love the repatterns. I think that I love that that kind of got brought into this network work that I've learned in the past year or two because I think it's really, really powerful. So I'm glad that felt good. Awesome. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I feel much lighter. I feel much lighter in my heart and my chest and my throat and um yeah, and definitely this is a wonderful practice. This is a good thing to be able to do every day.
Yes, yeah. So keep kind of bringing those in and yeah, like let that be, and sometimes things will change too. Like you'll be like, oh, maybe I should bring in like this other idea kind of comes in. I can,
Oh, sure.
let it evolve. It doesn't have to be rigid of like, we did it in the session this way. Like that was the way it came up. If you have some other thing where you're like, oh, this was another time I was super relaxed, like let yourself go there because it doesn't have to be kind of these strict, bumpers on the lane. It's like, oh
Sure.
yeah, that feels good too. Bring that in and just more, 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 and kind of moving from that space. And you could even, it just dropped in my mind too. You could use this too before you do an activity of like
Hmm.
putting yourself out there. If that feels supportive too, it can kind of become part of one of your practices to do that. Good. Wonderful. You both look nice and light and relaxed, which is always beautiful to see. So, to just share a little bit more about kind of we've had this 5 days together and kind of the next possible steps if you're feeling called to, wanting more support. So, you've kind of had a taste of some of the nervous system tools and the practices that I work with. You've also now just had a taste of a little bit of the energy work that I do. So, part of my process is called the unmuted method. And so I'd just love to share a little bit about kind of what that looks like and then, kind of how, if you'd like to continue, what that might look like for us to continue. So inside of the method, basically there's 5 pieces. So we go to the reveal layer. So we're uncovering our root fears, beliefs, visibility wounds that keep us hidden. And this kind of gives us a little bit of that too, that energy work. Like you saw, like these pieces are probably part of your story. There's always layers to it. We release, and that was part of, how I do release. So we clear the emotional and energetic charges around visibility from the body and mind. And then we regulate. So we had a whole week of kind of doing the regulation practices. Part of my work also is around rewiring. So we're embedding new beliefs and strengthening their energetic expression and foundations. So I also use hypnosis in the work that I do. So there's inside of the program that I have called Unmuted, we use hypnosis audios that are designed to help work with that subconscious reprogramming and really anchor those things in deeply. And then there's kind of the re-emerging, which we kind of got a taste of in the 5 days as well. It's like we're coming out and taking action from those aligned, embodied places where visibility isn't overwhelming and it starts to feel good, which is the overall goal. So, I've totally loved having each of you be part of this, and I would love to invite an invitation to be part of the Unmuted program, which is it's kind of a hybrid of a membership and kind of a mastermind is the best way I can describe it. And each month we meet 3 times each month. So usually the first 3 Wednesdays of each month for an hour. And each session is a little bit different. So sometimes we're doing some belief deep dives. Sometimes we're doing this kind of energy work you just experienced. We're doing different practices. And then I do kind of some kind of more coaching style help as well. So if you're like, I'm trying to work on, this project and this is what's coming up, I can also kind of give you some suggestions and tips and ways to practically work through what's coming up. So I usually ask for a 4 month start to be part of Unmuted just because it kind of takes time. Like it's not a 1 month and miraculously these patterns go away. And then it becomes kind of a month-to-month option if you want to continue from there. So it's kind of a little bit of a hybrid of how different people do things. And I've just found that the 4 months really gives us time to like dig in and get you to a place where you're feeling really good. And then you're like, you can build on it, or you can be like, wow, that was great. I'm ready to like move on to my next adventure. So I have a few more spots open for founding membership in Unmuted, and so it can be $249 a month, or there's a little bit of a discount if you pay in full, and then you get a short 30-minute one-on-one with me. So that is $8.99 for if you pay in full. And then there's also the option to like upgrade and add a one-on-one each month. So I'll send all of the information on that as well. I have kind of only limited spots, like about 2 or 3 people. Right now, could I add the one-on-one? But if you feel like you like the group idea, but you want like a little bit more, like I know I'm going to need this very specific support, there's also a way to kind of receive one call each month. That's just you and I going deeper. So I would be totally honored to have you be part of Unmuted. And I know we've been working together. Do you mind if I just kind of mention that inside of kind of this process, Elaine?
Yeah, it's been super helpful. And I've been able to, I think I'm getting at least 5 new clients a month, which has been really helpful. And I've just noticed the shifts in my life, not only, in a personally, but also in my business. That's, it's sticking. It's helping me to create a base to move from, and just noticing, my relationships building, and so it's exciting, and it's the multi-step approach. I think for me is really works, and I find I'm sharing with my clients some of what I'm practicing. So yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. And it's always nice because the things we learn, we can also share. So I think it's beautiful that, things that like I'm always working with people too. And then I learned something from a mentor and I'm like, oh, this is really useful. Like that first practice we did last week comes from somebody that I've been working with. And it's a practice I do daily, sometimes multiple times a day when stuff comes up. And I'm like, oh, I got you. I see you, I'm holding space for you instead of like, oh, who can help me? It's like, no, I've got this. I've got this. So
And
beautiful.
support, and to have your presence and encouragement, I think it's been really helpful. So
And I love working with you. And, I would love to, if you feel the call, Elizabeth, and, if you want to have a chat about it as well, I'm always happy to answer
Wonderful.
questions or have a chat about it before you jump in and, say yes. But I think it would be wonderful to have you. And of course, anybody who's watching the video as well, feel free to, I'll send information about the program, but reach out if you have questions and
Perfect.
answer them. All right. Well, does
great.
anybody have any final questions or thoughts before we wrap up our time together?
This was really effective. Really
Good.
effective, yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. And then I also will probably send a short Google form at the end of probably at the end of the week to give people time to kind of go through this week, finish anything that maybe you didn't get a chance to. And, that's always helpful because then it can help me create, improve things and create testimonials that when I run this 5-day experience again, people can see the value of it, not just me saying it's wonderful, it'll help you, but actually hearing other human beings who say, this is how it helped me. So I would be grateful for sure. I usually keep them pretty short. So, 5-10 minutes of your time to just give a little bit of feedback would be very valuable and appreciated. All right. Well, thank you all. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, whatever you're doing, whether you're watching the game or doing other things.
Thank you. It was great to meet you as well. Shamila?
Yes, you too, Elizabeth.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
All
Hope to
right.
see you again.
Good to
Okay,
see you
have a
guys.
wonderful
Take
day.
care. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.